What is going on, YouTube people? Today we are going to take a look at TCG Player and the fallout from the 10% off sale that they ran on Friday. Now, I am not super focused on the price changes because keep this in mind, and I think a lot of people fall into this trap. TCG Player is a little bit of a bubble. There are more places to buy and sell than just TCG Player. So when they do stuff like this, sometimes the prices can get a little bit skewed compared to what's out there. I'll give you an example. Obsidian Flames we'll look at here in a minute. It shows market price at $250 when you could still get boxes in the wild for $200 fairly easily. But because it was a TCG Player only sale, the inventory got gobbled up a little bit because of the 10%, little FOMO, all sorts of stuff. But what I do want to look at is the volume. Where were people spending their money? And we're going to focus specifically on Scarlet and Violet. Sword and Shield honestly didn't have a ton of movements, at least volume-wise. Some prices moved here and there, but there was just less action over on that side. Scarlet and Violet, different story. Lots of boxes moved this weekend. I have these in order of most action to least amount of action. Number one is Destined Rivals. I don't think that's super surprising. Obviously, it's about to come out. There's a ton of hype behind it, but you could see down here on the volume chart, look at the jump up yesterday. 390 boxes sold on the 16th. Day before, 72. So huge jump in volume. Once again, the price didn't change that much. Didn't change at all, hardly. But the amount of boxes, the amount of people throwing money at Destined Rivals was number one overall. And it, quite frankly, wasn't even close. Number two, Surging Sparks. 183 sold yesterday. Day before was 9. 16 the day before that. 15 the day before that. So huge jump in Surging Sparks. Once again, the price really didn't move that much. It went from 230 to 235, but a metric ton of volume. This was the number 2 set. Destin was number 1, and look at the difference between the two. Now, I should note, I stuck strictly to booster boxes for this. I didn't look at ETBs for the specialty sets and things like that. This is booster box specific because I wanted to compare apples to apples. So Surging Sparks in the number 2 slot. Number 3, Paldea Evolved. Now, this one did see some price movement, but once again, check other platforms. 132 boxes sold on the 16th. This is showing market price up to about $300. Probably one of the best sets in Scarlet and Violet. We'll see how it does in the long term, how things kind of all stack out now that we have the full block. You know, between Destin, Surging, and Paldea, we'll see which one ends up being the evolving skies, if you will, of this run, and it may actually be prismatic, who knows. But regardless, Paldea, absolutely fantastic set, and it saw a ton of movement. These were, to be quite frank, were the heavy hitters. The next batch of stuff we're going to look at all are very similar to each other. And then there is one outlier on the bottom end of the spectrum. So Destin, Surging, and Paldea, from a what are people going after standpoint, those were the 3 biggest winners. I think that's important information to file away if you are looking to buy into stuff, because once again, remember, these prices didn't move up that much. Now, Paldea did, but Paldea has been gaining steam over the last few weeks anyway. But these are the sets that people are super interested in. Okay, let's look at the stuff that kind of fell more towards the middle. Twilight Masquerade still did pretty well. This one's actually a little bit of an outlier from the others. It's just down from the top 3 that we looked at. 116 boxes sold. Once again, very popular set. Small bump up in price, but not really much. Now we get into the group that's pretty much all the same. So we had Twilight kind of as a tweener, if you will. Stellar Crown, 72. Scarlet and Violet base coming in at 69. Temporal Forces coming in at 70. Paradox Rift coming in at 64. And Obsidian Flames coming in at 59. So Stellar, SV base, Temporal Forces, Paradox Rift, and Obsidian Flames all had about equal sales volume, give or take a couple boxes here and there. All very fine sets, but not as much interest as those top 3. And then, like I said, Twilight Masquerade, kind of a little bit of a tweener set here at 116. How close was that to Paldea? Actually, it's pretty close to Paldea. You could almost make a legit top 4 of those. So my takeaway from this group is, because a lot of these are priced very similar. Twilight at 230, Stellar at 216, SV base just under 200, Temporal at 200, Rift at 205, Flames at 250. We need to let this one shake out a little bit. This is the one that I believe the least at 250. Twilight might be one of the better ones to go after, given the popularity of the set, and it's really not that much more expensive than these other ones. Obviously, all this stuff, have to put the asterisks in there. Anything here could technically be reprinted. So that's the risk side of it. So bear that in mind when you're buying. You would potentially have to ride out a reprint wave. We don't know how much impact it would have. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Journey Together. It did end up doing 55 boxes. So it actually came pretty close to some of these other ones. But the price actually went down on this one a little bit. And once again, I don't want to get too much into the price action of this stuff, but Journey Together, definitely the weakest of the Scarlet and Violet sets. Now, it is at $220 a box. It's a little more expensive than some of the other stuff, but I think that's still the new factor. I feel like this set has not quite settled in yet. The opinions on Journey Together are very mixed and have been since pre-release. It got a ton of FOMO driving it because it was the next Pokemon set coming out, and it just hasn't had the legs underneath it to keep it at those levels. I feel like this is just around a $200 box. Personally, I would rather chase some of these other ones. Like I said, from Twilight Masquerade is a little bit of an outlier price-wise because it's in the 230s. But everything else at around 200, I would rather go towards something like Twilight, even Stellar. I think Stellar is a very, very slept on set. Well, I mean, really, no real sets slept on these days, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of how things have shaken out from this big TCG Player sale. We'll see how prices normalize. Sword and Shield stuff continues to kind of go through this new level up phase. We're waiting to kind of see where things are going to settle in at and kind of where the money moves to next. When one thing levels up, like I said in the last video, people then go to look, well, if that's this price, then this needs to be that price. And I think there's still a little bit of that going on, but it does seem like that market is starting to stabilize a little bit, but I don't know that we're there quite yet. So, did you snag anything on the TCG Player sale? What positions did you build? What did you go after, if anything, or what are you hunting for? As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. We will catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.